Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing us another fantasy football video. This one, we'll go over some tight ends that I'd be looking to trade for ahead of the fantasy football playoffs. So, just putting these into two groups here, guys that I think are really set up for a great end of the fantasy football regular season, along with a different set of players that I think are really set up to be great for us during the fantasy playoffs. We know right now, with 3 weeks left in the regular season, just where our rosters stand, where we're sitting at. If you're 5-6, you probably got to win out to make the playoffs. If you're 9-2, you want to do everything you can to make sure that you have the best roster you can once those playoffs start. So, whichever boat you're in here, obviously these guys are going to apply to you. We want to make sure that we're really optimizing our roster to win the games that we have to win. And we're at that point in the season where we know what games are must-win games, and I think there's a lot we can do to improve our rosters here. So if you guys have any specific questions about any of these guys, any trade questions you want to ask, just let me know in the comments below. Happy to help you guys out there. And other than that, let's just get into it. Highlighting three tight ends that I think are really set up for a great stretch over the next 3 weeks. Travis Kelce stood out to me. He plays Carolina, the Raiders, and the Chargers. The only somewhat bad matchup over that stretch is the Chargers. Chargers allow 5% fewer points to the opposing tight end position than their average over the course of the season. That's basically a neutral matchup, though, and the beauty here is that Travis Kelce is just always gone off against the Chargers. It's not really a concern for me. Kelce's relatively matchup proof, but against the Raiders and Carolina, I do expect Kelce to go out there and put up a monster game. This week against the Panthers, coming off a loss, it's not like a trap game here for the Chiefs. They're going to go out there and just blow the doors off of Carolina. Travis Kelce's going to come out and have a really good game here, and then against the Raiders, I'd expect the same thing. So Kelce's a guy that could be a top 3 tight end the rest of the way here, and getting him for this stretch really could help get you into the playoffs. Sam Laporta gets Indianapolis, Chicago, and Green Bay. Chicago is not a fantastic matchup, but if you're going to beat them through the air, normally the tight end position is where you do it. And he should be back to full health after missing the game last week. Schedule is pretty soft, and again, because he's been so bad and he's a little bit banged up, he should be pretty free for you guys. And those matchups against Indianapolis and Green Bay specifically, I think are really great opportunities there for him to go out there and put up a big game. And then the last tight end I'll talk about is going to be Trey McBride. He gets Seattle, Minnesota, and Seattle. Honestly, Trey McBride's going to go nuclear. I think he'll be the tight end 1 over the back half of the season here. I'm really excited to see what Trey McBride can do here, and I just really want to get him on as many rosters as I can. I'm expecting big things from him. Seattle's atrocious against opposing tight ends. Trey McBride, I think he's one of the most talented tight ends in the NFL. It's like him or Bowers for me right now, and I think McBride's going to be an absolute monster here down the stretch. And we actually have a lot of names to talk about here for tight ends that I think are set up for a lot of success in the fantasy playoffs. The one I hate bringing up, but I have to, is Taysom Hill. He gets Washington, Green Bay, and the Raiders over the final 3 weeks. That's the third easiest schedule for tight ends. Tough because Taysom Hill doesn't really play tight end. He plays everywhere all over the field. He's a running back, he's a receiver, he's a tight end, he's a quarterback. But he's going to have a really great opportunity here, especially if Chris Olave doesn't come back. He's basically the only player in this offense they trust outside of Alvin Kamara. So I think Taysom Hill, if you told me he's going to be a top 5 tight end the rest of the way, I'd absolutely believe it. There are very few tight ends that have the kind of upside he does as well. Like, he just went out there and had 3 rushing touchdowns this last week. There are really no other tight ends in the NFL that have 3 touchdown upside outside of like maybe Kelce because he's got a nose for the end zone sometimes. But like, having that range of outcomes in your roster is certainly something I want. And again, it's dumb, but we got to talk about it. We got to mention him. He's definitely someone that should be on rosters and could be a league winner. Jake Ferguson, he's a great option here because he should be free now that he's concussed. Probably going to miss next week as well, but closes out the fantasy playoffs with Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Philadelphia. Really great setup there for him. Dallas is also just clearly going to have to throw the ball a ton. They're incapable of running the ball. Tampa Bay and Philadelphia, especially, really great run defenses as well, so they're going to have to air it out. We saw Cooper Rush throw the ball over 50 times last night. Schoonmaker, Spanford, like those guys were very involved yesterday because Jake Ferguson got knocked out. But there's a lot of opportunity and volume for the tight end position in Dallas, and I think Ferguson could be a top 10 tight end over that stretch, and he should be free for you guys. Brock Bowers gets Atlanta, Jacksonville, and New Orleans. That's fantastic. He could easily go out there and be the tight end 1 in the playoffs. David Njoku gets Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Miami. A lot of volume for Njoku here. All 3 of those games could be shootouts, especially with Jameis Winston. Njoku's a guy, he could do it again. He could be a guy that's a league winner at the tight end position this year. And then TJ Hawkinson gets Chicago, Seattle, and Green Bay. That's 3 straight plus matchups for the tight end position, and he should be fully healthy at that point as well. I know they're still sort of ramping him up, but Hawkinson could come out and just be a monster for us in the fantasy playoffs, so he's definitely someone we're keeping an eye on. So that'll do it for the trade targets this week. Up next, I'll be going over start and sits, so I'll cover every single matchup this week, go over which players should and should not be in your fantasy football lineups. Other than that, though, if you guys didn't watch the quarterback, running back, or receiver trade target videos, I highly recommend you guys go watch those as well. If you guys have any specific questions, make sure you just let me know in the comments. I love interacting with you guys there. If you want to make sure you don't miss any of the other content, just make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And then if you made it this far in the video, hopefully it helped you out. Help me out then by giving me a thumbs up. It just makes me know that I'm doing a good job and all that. So yeah, appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you with the next one. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.